Welcome to the final passage of the IELTS reading test, and it's usually the hardest. The language is more academic, the ideas are more complex, and time pressure can really start to build. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a full passage 3 step by step, and I'm going to show you exactly how to approach some of the toughest question types you might face, especially multiple choice and matching features. But before we get started, if you are preparing for IELTS, make sure you check out our preparation course in the description below, because it's going to teach you everything you need to know to get a band 7 or higher in every single part. All right, let's have a look at our reading passage 3. On the screen now, you can see our passage 3. It's called Technology and the Changing Workplace. Now, let's go straight down to the questions. We won't waste any time. So here they are, questions 27 to 30. Choose the correct letter, A, B, or C. Write the correct letter in boxes 27 to 30 on your answer sheet. So the first thing that you should notice there is it says write the correct letter. Okay, so when you're writing your answer, you just need to write the letter. You don't need to write the full option that you think is correct. So let's have a look at the first one. The first paragraph tells us about. So whenever you get something like this, the first paragraph, the second paragraph, that's obviously really good because it tells you exactly where you need to look to find the answer. Now, when you're doing multiple choice, I would recommend that you just quickly read the options and get an overall idea of what each option is about. So let's quickly do that. The percentage of roles that will be entirely automated by AI. Okay, let's look at B now. The growing influence of technology in creative industries. Why workers are concerned about being replaced by technology. And then finally, the predicted impact of AI on employment in the coming years, so in the future. So now we've read the options and we know exactly where to look. So let's go up to the first paragraph and we will see if we can find the answer. So recent studies estimate that 10 to 20% of jobs around the world could either disappear or change significantly within the next decade. So this sentence here looks like it could be talking about the future of work. So let's keep reading. As artificial intelligence becomes more advanced, it's being used in more industries, okay? In manufacturing, okay, so we're giving an example. Smart robots are improving production speed, while in offices, AI tools help companies sort through large amounts of data, okay? These developments, okay, suggest that workers in many sectors may need to adapt to stay employable in the changing job market. So it looks like this paragraph is talking about the impact of technology. There are a few specific examples, like we've got here, manufacturing and offices. So let's go back down to the options and we'll choose the best one. So let's start with number 1. The percentage of roles that will be entirely, that's the key, or that's our keyword there, entirely automated by AI. Well, it does talk about some percentages, but it doesn't say entirely automated by AI. So we can remove A. Next one, the growing influence of technology in creative industries. Well, it does talk about some industries. It said manufacturing and in offices, but it doesn't talk about creative industries. So we can remove that one. C, why workers are concerned about being replaced by technology. Well, no, it doesn't say anything about that. So we can remove C. And then let's have a look at D, the predicted impact of AI on employment in the coming years. Yes, that looks good because that's what it talks about. So that's how you should do multiple choice questions. So let's move on to the next one now, which is 28. According to the second paragraph. Again, this is really good because now we know exactly where to look. What does Professor Naomi Fields? Again, this is also good because we know exactly who to look for. Suggest about the use of digital tools. So again, let's just very quickly have a look at the options. They can now complete tasks. that once required, so in the past, once required highly trained professionals. They are most effective in industries that involve physical work. They are limited to organizing large amounts of information. So limited to, that just means only. So they can only organize large amounts of information. And the last one there is they reduce the need for human workers in factories. So let's go back up and we'll see if we can find the answer. Remember, we're looking for the second paragraph and Professor Naomi Fields. So let's scroll back up here, get to the second paragraph. So you can see that it says her name straight away, Professor Naomi Fields. She says that digital tools are already transforming jobs that rely on expert judgment rather than physical labor. So what this is saying is that this is having an effect on jobs that require expert judgment or thinking rather than or not physical labor. So it's not affecting physical labor. Let's just keep reading and see what else it says. These tools are now capable of learning, okay, from huge amounts of data that that used to be carried out by specialists. Some advanced systems now review applications, okay, evaluate employee performance, or analyze consumer behavior to help organizations make important decisions. So it's just giving a few examples there. So let's go back down and we'll choose the correct answer through the process of elimination. So we will remove the incorrect answers. So they can now complete tasks that once required highly trained professionals. Well, that looks good already because that's what it was saying. So we can circle that one. Looks pretty good. B, they are most effective in industries that involve physical work. Well, no, that's the opposite of what it said. So we can cross that one out. C, they are limited to organizing large amounts of information. Well, no, that's not true. It does not say they can only organize large amounts of information. D, they reduce the need for human workers in factories. Well, no, it doesn't say anything about that. So we can cross out that last option, D. So the answer there must be A. All right, so let's move on to question 29 now. What did Professor Fields observe at the marketing company? So again, this is making it very clear what we need to look for. So that's great. Now let's quickly look at the potential options. An algorithm gave staff instructions about how to interact with clients, okay? Staff began choosing how to approach customers on their own, okay? The company used an algorithm to monitor employee performance. And finally, managers encouraged staff to ignore digital instructions. So let's go back up and see if we can find that. Remember, we're looking for Professor Fields and we're looking for a marketing company. So let's go back up and we'll keep looking for the answer here. So in some situations, AI, no, nothing there. Many companies, no. More reliable, no. These tools comes with challenges, no, nothing there about a company. Now, another concern is the influence, okay? Professor Fields, okay, spent more than 2 years studying, here we go, the internal operations of a large marketing company. So we found our keywords. So now let's slow down and we'll see what the actual paragraph says about this topic. So it says, in the past, sales staff and managers relied on personal judgment. But during my time at the company, there's that word algorithm. If you remember, that's what some of the options mentioned. So told them when to reach out to clients, what approach to take, and what type of products to offer. Okay, now let's just quickly keep reading because we don't know if the answer might be a bit further down. So Field explains that the system are often created by outside developers. That might be important. Ends up holding most of the knowledge. Okay, over time, people start relying too heavily on what the systems tell them. learning to see things through its perspective. This growing independence can prevent workers from trying new things. Da, 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 da. Okay. Fields and her team even noticed finding ways to manipulate the system. So that could be important as well. And then it sort of goes on to a new topic. So let's go back to the question now, and we'll choose the correct answer. So letter A, an algorithm gave staff instructions about how to interact with clients. Well, yes, the algorithm did do that. So we can circle that. That looks good. B, staff began choosing how to approach customers on their own. No, didn't say anything about that. It said the opposite. C, the company used an algorithm to monitor employee performance. Well, no, it doesn't say anything about monitoring, how the employees went or what they were doing. And finally, managers encouraged staff to ignore digital instructions. Well, I do remember seeing the word manager, but it didn't say anything about encouraging staff to, not follow or, ignore digital instructions. So we can cross that one out. So it looks like 29 is A. Let's move on to 30. In her recently published study, Dr. Olivia Chen. Okay, fantastic. It's telling us exactly where to look. We need to look for Dr. Olivia Chen, and we need to look for her study. So let's quickly look at the options. A, argues that job losses are unavoidable during times of technological change. Okay, claims that automation will create more problems than it solves. Okay. Illustrates how job losses can be handled. Okay. Suggests that governments are already doing enough. Okay. So governments already doing enough protect workers. So let's go up and let's see if we can find the study by Dr. Olivia Chen. So let's start here. So situations like this, no. Fields, no. Okay. Professor Daniel Reyes, an economist, no. Reyes predicts, no. Professor Reyes, no, 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 no. Here we go. Dr. Olivia Chen, here she is. So a researcher at the Institute for Economic Policy agrees that predictions, she argues, nothing about a study. Let's keep going. Here we go. Her recently published study, let's keep reading, explores whether automation, there's automation that was mentioned in the options, and AI will lead to widespread unemployment. History shows that job losses can happen during times of change. Can happen, so it's possible. But strong policies such as can address this and reduce the impact. She adds, if automation is going to reshape jobs, I hope governments use this chance. If you remember, one of the options was talking about governments. So let's just quickly check this. Strengthen employment laws, create more secure conditions for workers. Okay. She continues, we have the tools, so we need to use them. Okay. Chen's research calls on leaders in business and public policy to act early and introduce reform. A reform is a change, and it normally makes things better. Okay, I think that's it. So let's go down back to 30 and see if we can find the correct answer. So A argues that job losses are unavoidable during times of technological change. Well, Olivia Chen does talk about that, but she doesn't say they're unavoidable. She says they can happen. So that one is not correct. She does not say they are unavoidable. B claims that automation will create more problems than it solves. Well, she does talk about automation, but she doesn't say it's going to create more problems than it solves. C illustrates how job losses can be handled. Well, I remember something about that. So let's just quickly double check. She says, here it is. Strong policies can address this. Okay, so she's talking about how this problem can be dealt with or handled. So I think C looks good. D suggests that governments are already doing enough to protect workers. Well, she talks about governments, but she does not say they are already doing enough to protect workers. So we can remove D. So there you go. They were the multiple choice questions. Now let's move on to the next set of questions. Here they are, questions 31 to 34. All right, so let's read the instructions. They say, complete the summary using the list of words A to G below. Write the correct letter A to G in boxes 31 to 34 on your answer sheet. So note here, it says write the correct letter. So that means when you choose your answer, you don't need to write the word itself. You just need to write the letter. So as you can see, here is the summary itself. And there are some blanks, 31, 32, 33, and 34. Your job is to choose the correct word from this list here for each of the gaps or each of the blanks. So let's start by looking at the title. And this is really important because it's going to help you to know where to look for the answers. The title says Digital Tools in the Workplace. And if you remember, I think it was Professor Naomi Fields who was talking about this in paragraph 2. So we already know where to look for the answer. So let's have a look at this first sentence here and we'll talk about it. So Professor Naomi Fields has seen that digital tools are affecting occupations which require. So in the text, we're going to be looking for digital tools, of course, and we're going to be looking for how they have been affecting certain occupations or certain jobs which require or which need. So let's go to the top of the passage. I believe it was the second paragraph where Naomi talks about this. And yes, I can see it already. Digital tools. So let's quickly have a read and we'll see what we can find. So Professor Naomi Fields from the University of Toronto argues that digital tools are already transforming jobs. Okay, that has a similar meaning to affecting occupations that rely on or need expert judgment rather than physical labor. So the answer could be right here, and I think it is. So if you think about what she has, or what the passage has just said, how could you paraphrase that in your own words? What's another way to say that? Especially this bit here, relying on expert judgment. Well, when I think about that, I think it's saying that it's affecting jobs that need experience, because that's another way to say expert judgment. So now we've read the passage and we've thought about a paraphrase. Well, we can come back down to the questions and we can choose the best answer. So let's have a look at them one by one. First one, stress. Well, no, it doesn't say anything about affecting jobs that require stress. Comfort, no. Upgrade, no. Experience, yes, maybe. Creativity, no. Approval, no. And dependence, no. So the best answer there would have to be experience. Now, please note, I'm writing the full word just so you can see what it looks like in the sentence. Obviously, in the real test, you just need to write the letter. So we can cross out experience now because we've used that one already. So now let's continue and we'll find the next one. So it says, while studying a marketing company. Okay, that sounds familiar. We've already looked at that before. Fields found that employees were showing an increasing. So something is going up, something is becoming more. Something on the system's recommendations and used its way of thinking. So now we know what to look for. Let's go back up to the passage and find that marketing company. And I believe that was towards the end of the first page. So let's have a look. There we go, right there. Okay, large marketing company. So we know where to look. So let's have a quick read and see what it says. So Professor Fields spent more than 2 years studying how employees, that was one of the keywords there. So in the past, sales staff and managers, but during my time at the company, I saw, an algorithm tells the workers what to do and when to do it. Okay, let's keep going. Fields explains that the system created by outside developers. Okay, holds the knowledge, fair enough. People start, relying too heavily on what the system tells them, learning to see things only through its perspective. This sort of sounds similar to the end of the sentence in the summary. So if we have a look at that sentence there, which starts with over time, well, try and think about a different way to say that. How could you paraphrase that in your own words? So remember the summary said something is increasing. Well, I think that's talking about this thing here, or this part here, sorry. It says people start relying too heavily on ... So maybe another word for relying could be dependence or depending. So they are depending. They need that thing, or they need that algorithm, or they need that system. It's a necessity for them. So let's go back down and see if we can find the best word. So stress, well, no, doesn't say anything about stress, so that's not right. Comfort, no, doesn't say that. Upgrade, no. Creativity, no. Approval, no. Dependence, yes, it does talk about dependence, but it says reliance. So we can cross that off and we can put the word dependence in there. Now, always just quickly have a read after you put the word into the space, just to check that everything's okay. So Fields found that employees were showing an increasing dependence on the system's recommendation and used its way of thinking. Yeah, that looks good. That looks like it fits. So let's continue to the next one now. At the same time, workers may be discouraged from using their own something, which is important for coming up with new ideas. So what that's saying there is that workers might not be using something, and this is stopping them, or it's important, for them to use that thing to create new ideas. So maybe something to do with creativity or innovation. So let's go back up and we'll see if we can find it. So let's start from where the previous answer was located, or which is right here. So let's read it together. This growing dependence can prevent workers. Okay, that sounds sort of like what they said in the summary, from trying new approaches or thinking independently, which are often key or important to advancement and in innovation. So now we know that the answer is probably here. So we need to paraphrase it. We need to explain this in our own words. So what I'm thinking is that it's stopping employees from innovation, like it says here, and maybe it's talking about creativity because it's not allowing them to think of their own ideas. So let's go back down and we'll see if we can find the answer. So let's start from the top there. It says stress. No, it doesn't talk about stress. And think about it. If you put the word stress here, it wouldn't make sense as well. Comfort. No, doesn't talk about comfort. Upgrade. No. Creativity. Yeah, that looks good. Approval. No. So we can cross out creativity and we can put that in there. Creativity. And again, just quickly check it. So workers may be discouraged from using their own creativity, which is important for coming up with new ideas. Yes, that looks good, and it sounds very similar to what we just read up above. Let's look at the last one now, which is 34. To stop the issues that Fields witnessed, experts are working to make AI systems that users can use with greater or more. So we're looking for stopping something, and we're looking for making AI systems that might help users with something. So let's go back up and we'll see if we can find the answer there. So let's start from where we finished before, which was around here. They're often key. Okay, let's keep going. Fields and her team noticed employees finding a way to manipulate. No, nothing there. We've seen examples. No. Situations like this are what okay. So this could be important. Trying to avoid. They want to design, AI tools that people can use without confusion. So without confusion and feel at ease with, especially when those tools help make decisions. For now, we need to think carefully. Okay, so the answer's probably here. So let's try and paraphrase this bit here. So it seems like they're trying to make AI tools that users can trust or that users can have confidence in when they're actually using them. Because look here, it says feel at ease. If you feel at ease, you probably feel comfortable using something. You might feel relaxed using something. So let's go back down now and we'll see which word is the best choice. So again, start from the top. Stress, no. Comfort, okay, maybe. Upgrades, no. Approval, no. So it looks like comfort would be the correct answer there. Comfort. Now let's just double check. AI systems that users can use with greater comfort. Yes, that looks good. All right, so they were the completion questions. Let's go to the next set of questions now. So questions 35 to 40. Look at the following statements, okay? Questions 35 to 40 and the list of people below. Match each statement with the correct person, A, B, or C. Write the correct letter, A, B, or C, in boxes 35 to 40 on your answer sheet. NB, you may use any letter more than once. So just a few things to mention there. The first one is, again, it says write the correct letter. So when you choose your answer, write the letter, not the name of the person. Also note here, it says you can use any letter more than once. Because if you look here, there are 6 questions here, but there are only 3 people, okay? So you can use each letter for each person more than once. Now, when you get this type of question, I recommend that you quickly have a look at the statements. Think about how to paraphrase them or think about how to say them in your own words. Then start with the first person, find out what they say, then go to the second person and the third person. So let's do that right now very quickly. Let's look at 35. Workers will have a less traditional career path than before, okay? Rules should be changed in order to make to make sure employees are treated fairly. Sorry, let me just highlight the keywords. A less traditional career path. This one here, rules should be changed, employees treated fairly. Changes in technology have caused job cuts in the past. So the keywords there will be changes in technology, caused job cuts, past. Next one, people need to consider how AI affects jobs. Okay. Next one, 39, more automation. Okay, will not necessarily reduce the total number of jobs available. And last one there, 40, AI offers various advantages that make it attractive to companies. So obviously one of the key parts there is AI, advantages, and attractive to companies. So now we've quickly had a look at the statements. Now we can start with the first person, and the first person is Naomi Fields. So let's go back to the very top of the passage and we'll quickly see what she says. Because if you remember, I believe the first mention of her was in paragraph 2. Okay, so let's quickly have a look at what she says. She talks about transforming jobs. We've had a look at that before. The tools are capable of learning. Okay, fair enough. Some systems review applications. Fair enough. Okay, in some situations, AI and digital tools are proving to be more effective than people. Okay, many companies are drawn to them. Let me highlight that. Many companies are drawn to them because, if you remember, one of the statements was something about companies and advantages. So this could be where one of the answers is. They believe decisions made by machines are more reliable and they're looking to lower costs and increase performance. Well, they're 2 advantages. So it looks like Naomi is the person who has said this. Now let's keep going. These tools come with challenges too. Okay, if software does this, In the past, people learned quietly, okay, without that kind of exposure. Okay, nothing really important there. Another concern is the influence, okay? Spent more, 2 years, da da da. Okay, but during my time, I saw the algorithm, okay? Fields explains that the system created by outside developers, okay? People rely too heavily, yeah. This growing dependence, okay? We've already had quite a good look at that, so we can keep going. Fields and her team even noticed employees finding a way to manipulate, okay? Okay, nothing important there. Situations like this, they're trying to avoid, okay? For now, Fields says we need to think carefully. Okay. If you remember, there was a question which said something like people need to think about, I can't remember what it said, the problems with AI, something like that. So this could be it. This new era and technology present, particularly when it comes to professional expertise, job responsibilities, and control in the workplace. And then it goes on to the next person. So let's quickly go back down and we'll see which statements relate to Naomi. So first one, less traditional career path. No, it doesn't say anything, or she didn't say anything about that. Rules should be changed. No, it doesn't talk about that. Changes in technology have caused job cuts in the past. No. 38, people need to consider how AI affects jobs. Yes, that was the one we saw last. Okay, so we can put A there for Naomi. Number 39, more automation. Well, no, there was nothing about that. AI offers advantages that make it attractive to companies. Yes, because we found that on the first page in one of the, I think it was the third paragraph. So we can put A there. So we'll cross off 40, cross off 38. So we've done Naomi. Now let's move on to Daniel Reyes. So let's go back up and we'll see if we can find where he was. I believe he was on the second page. There we go. Okay, Daniel Reyes. An economist believes the idea of a straightforward career path. Okay, that could be something about, I think it was the first one, which talked about not having a traditional career path, something like that. So the old model is no longer realistic, okay? So Reyes predicts that future workers will have several career shifts, okay? So it looks like this will be the answer for number, I think it was the first one, 35. He describes this as a part of a flexible journey, okay? When it comes to automation, okay, there was a statement which talked about automation. Professor Reyes believes that many concerns are based on a misunderstanding, okay? People often assume that the number of jobs stays the same. He says, but that's rarely true, okay? If in 20 years, okay, he just gives some details. And then it goes to Olivia Chen. So we can go back down and we'll see which statements relate to Daniel. So let's have a look at the first one. Workers will have a less traditional career path than before. Yes, absolutely. So we can put B there. He definitely talks about that. Rules should be changed. No. Changes in technology have caused job cuts in the past. No. More automation will not necessarily reduce the total number of jobs available. Yes, he does talk about that. So we can cross off 35 and we can cross off 39. Now, and we'll tick Daniel Reyes as done. Now, if this was the real test and you're about to run out of time, well, for 36 and 37, you could just quickly write C. But if you do have time, just quickly check, because when you're under pressure, when you're trying to do things quickly, you may make mistakes. So just quickly check, and that's what we'll do now, because this is obviously not a real test and we don't have the issue of time pressure. So let's have a look at Olivia Chen. What did she say? So let's go up here. Here we go. So let me get my highlighter. Okay, so Dr. Olivia Chen, predictions about mass unemployment are often exaggerated or maybe not 100% correct. It's not technology that takes jobs. It's outdated policies. Okay. It's not technology that causes job losses. Okay, let's keep going. She talks about automation as well. Okay, AI will lead to widespread unemployment. History shows that job losses can happen during times of change, but strong policies such as retraining can address this. Okay. She adds, if automation is going to reshape jobs, I hope governments, can use this chance to strengthen laws or maybe change laws to create more secure conditions for workers. Well, that was what one of these statements was about. So Chen's research calls on leaders in business and public policy to act, to do something, to introduce reforms. We talked about that. That's when you change something, normally for the better. Workers' rights, fair wages, and ensure the benefits. Okay, the possibilities offered are incredible. The changes, this major shift could completely redefine how we work, live, and communicate. Okay, so let's go back. And let's have a look. So, rules should be changed. Yes, she definitely says that because she talks about reform and strengthening things. And 37, changes in technology have caused job cuts in the past. Yes, she did talk about that. So that was passage 3. If you haven't seen the lesson for passage 1, you can check it out right here. And passage 2 is right here. Thanks for watching. Take care and keep studying hard.